Good morning, Year 2. It's Miss Addy. I hope you all had a really enjoyable weekend and you're ready for some fun maths this week. Our learning question for today asks us, can I measure length using non-standard units of measurement? Our steps to success say, I can recognise which is the longest side of an object. I can use non-standard units of measurement to measure an object's length, and I can record my answer in non-standard units of measurement. Our first star word for today is the word length, and length is a type of measurement. So we also have the star word measure. We've got the star word non-standard units, and we're going to explore that a little bit later on. We have the words longer and shorter, and these are words that we use to describe the length of an object. So you might have noticed by our star words that we're beginning a new topic today in maths. Our new topic, which we're learning about, is length. So have a think, what do you already know about length? Pause the video and talk to your grown-up and tell them what you know about the word length and measuring length. Do you know what the word length means? What is length? Length is a measure of the longest side of an object. So if we look at any object around us, the length of that object will be the longest side of that object. To find the length, we need to measure, and measure is one of our star words for today. So we know that the length is the longest side. The red sides show the length. So looking at the graph, we can see that vertically this is the length, because this is the longest part of the graph. This green line is not the length. This is called the width. Look at the picture of the dog. This is the length of the dog because this is the longest side. The green line is not the length because it's the shortest side. So what does non-standard units of measurement mean when we are measuring length? When we were looking at our star words, we had the phrase non-standard units. That sounds very, very tricky. But non-standard units is when we measure the length of an object using items that aren't typically used. Because a long time ago, rulers and tape measures weren't around. So if people wanted to measure, they needed to use non-standard units. Let's look at some examples of non-standard units of length. We could measure an item's length using cubes. We would need to line up the cubes across the length of the object and count the number of cubes to see how many cubes long the object is. We could measure using small figures. So here we've used compare bears. We've lined up the compare bears across the length of the object and counted the number of compare bears. You could do the same thing with counters. We could measure the length using sweets. So here we've measured the length of the object using M&Ms. Now we could do that with any other sweet to see how long that item is, the length of that item. We could measure using paper clips. So here somebody's measured the length of their hand using paper clips. We could measure using our feet. So here a girl is measuring the length of her friend using feet. We could measure using our hand span, so very similar to using our feet, but we could use our hands instead. We could measure using pasta. so pieces of pasta. When we measure using non-standard units of measurement, so like the things we've just looked at, there are 3 keys. This means 3 special rules that we need to follow. The first special rule is that we need to use objects that are the same size. So if we use paper clips, we need to make sure that all of the paper clips are the same size. If we're using pieces of pasta, they all need to be the same size. And if we are using cubes, they all need to be the same size so that it is fair. When we measure an item using non-standard units of measurement, we need to make sure that we start at the edge of the object. We can't start in the middle, we need to start at the edge, and we need to end on the other edge. And we need to make sure that we don't overlap or leave gaps in between. Here is a book. Together we're going to measure the length of this book, and we're going to be using cubes to measure the book. Cubes are a non-standard unit of measurement. But before we can do that, we need to think which part of the book shows the length. Is it this or is it this? Remember, the length of an object is the longest side of the object. This part of the book shows the length, as this is the longest side of the object. This is the part that we need to measure. We need to make sure that we start measuring from the edge. That was one of our key rules when we are measuring using non-standard units of measurement. That means we need to start measuring from this point, this edge. So we need to start measuring from here, and we need to finish here. We're using cubes to measure, so we would do this one by one until we've measured the length. And this is what it would look like. How many cubes long is the book? So count the cubes. Good. The book is 12 cubes long. Let's try again, but instead this time we're going to use a pencil. And let's measure it again using some cubes. Before we can do that, we need to decide which is the length that we're going to be measuring, which is the longest part of the pencil. Is it this part? Or is it this part? What do you think? The part of the pencil that we're going to measure is this. This is the length, as this is the longest side of the object. Remember, we need to start at the edge of the object. This is the edge of the pencil. This is where we need to stop measuring. We're going to use cubes. We're going to put them down one by one and count the total. This is what it would look like. How many cubes long is the pencil? Can you count the cubes? Fantastic. The pencil is 10 cubes long. Let's have another go. Let's measure the length of the stapler. Instead of using cubes, let's use paper clips to measure the length. Which part of the stapler shows the length? Is it this part? Or is it this part? What do you think? Well done, it's this part of the object. This is the length, as this is the longest side of the object. So remember our key rules. We need to start at the edge of the object. We need to finish on the other edge. Let's use our paper clips one by one and make sure they are the same size, and then we'll count how many we used. Here are the paper clips, and they're lined up neatly in order so we can count them. How many paper clips have we used? The stapler is 4 paper clips long. Well done. Let's measure the length of the pencil case. Let's use paper clips again, as paper clips are non-standard units of measurement. And we're going to be measuring the length. Which part of the pencil case shows the length? Is it this part or is it this part? What do you think? Well done if you were correct. This part of the pencil case shows the length, as this is the longest side of the object. This is the part that we're going to measure. Remember, we need to start measuring from the edge. So we're going to use our paper clips all across the length and stop here. Let's put our paper clips down one by one and see what it looks like. Good, we've done that. And we've made sure they are as straight as possible. Let's count how many paper clips we used. Fantastic. The pencil case is 6 paper clips long. Non-standard units of measurement are any item that can be used to measure something. So we've just used paper clips and we've used cubes. But remember, we could use blocks or fingers or handspan, feet or sweets, whatever you like, as long as you follow the key rules. Here is a pencil and it's been measured using blocks. We can see that the pencil is 15 blocks long. If we use the same pencil and use paper clips instead, we can see that the pencil is 6 paper clips long. So although it's the same object, our non-standard units of measurement are different. Here is a bar, and it's been measured using handspans, and we can see that the bar is 6 handspans long. Using the same bar, it's been measured using feet, but the bar is 4 feet long here, so it's the same object being measured, but different non-standard units of measurement. So just to remind ourselves, when we measure using non-standard units of measurement, we need to follow our 3 keys, our 3 special rules. We need to make sure that we use objects that are the same size, so that it's fair and equal when we measure. We need to make sure that we start at the edge of an object, not in the middle. And we need to make sure that we don't leave gaps or we don't overlap our items when we're measuring. So your task for today, Year 2, is I would like you to find 3 different objects in your house and measure them using a non-standard unit of measurement of your choice. So what could you use to help you measure your 3 objects? You could use paper clips, or cubes, or pieces of pasta, or coins, or whatever it is in your house that you have. Make sure that you follow the 3 keys when you are measuring, so that when you're using your object, all of your objects are the same size. And when you've done that, it would be fantastic if you could ask a grown-up in your house to take a photo and email it to your teacher. Enjoy your task, Year 2. Goodbye.